reconnect, and we're just hoping that as we again join our esteemed panel, and certainly hope that we have a great program this evening. So once again, let me cue Reverend Kwame Kamau and Dr. Claudius Fergus. Good evening to you.
Good evening, Ruskin. It's nice to hear you again after many years.
It's my pleasure to be here with you, joining you this evening, and looking forward to the next hour or so and to cover some of the areas that listed here. Especially, I'm particularly interested in the report and from the UN Security Council as it pertains to Haiti. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to you and Dr. Claudius Fergus.
Thank you, Ruskin. Yes, so we begin this evening's program. It's a massive program we have on for you this evening. We have two great guests who are going to join us a little later after the Africa report. We will introduce them at the appropriate time. If you have had communication with respect to the title of the Africa report, the UN Security Council Authorization of International Security Mission to Haiti, Implications for Haiti. Actually, the focus of the report is not on the UN. The report was drafted before the UN had voted to support the mission. The focus is on Kenya and her relationship with Haiti, with implications for both Kenya and Haiti. If the mission proceeds, because you would hear, of course, why I said so as the report is being delivered. Things could be in the doldrums, we don't know, but we will have to wait and see how that happens. So this is the report for this evening. You are free to comment. Of course, we are going to respond to your comments as much as possible. So just hit the button and send us your comments, your questions. We are going to respond as best as we could. Rene, let's bring up the report, please. For the very first time in history, an independent African country may be deploying forces to the Caribbean. This is the Africa report, and this week's topic is Kenya's decision to deploy 1,000 policemen to assist the Haitian government in restoring its sovereignty over the country, which it has lost mainly to gang leaders and other non-state actors. According to the Kenyan government, Haiti reached out and asked for its assistance. The agreement to do so has become mired in controversy in many Caribbean countries, including Haiti and Kenya. This concern is understandable and even necessary. Kenya's President William Ruto sees the deployment as a mission for humanity. In preparation, Kenyan government officials had visited Haiti in August to assess the situation firsthand. One of the main outcomes of the visit was that the selected police officers have begun learning French. Many advise that they should also be learning Haitian Creole. The Kenyan contingent will be precepted as Haitian police. Their main objective will be to contain gang violence and restore security. So far, the only known African country to participate in this mission is Senegal. Non-African states that have indicated an interest in joining Kenyan police are Bahamas, Jamaica, Antigua and Bermuda, Spain, and Chile. Haiti has been without an elected president since the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in 2021. Prime Minister Ariel Henry is really only an acting prime minister. General elections are long overdue, but cannot be held because of the insecurity. It will not be an easy road for the Kenyan police in Haiti, not only because of the warring gangs and gangsterism. Many Haitians believe that acting Prime Minister Henry is implicated in the murder of Moise. Furthermore, some gang leaders are not mere criminals. They are also political opponents of the Prime Minister. Some of the powerful gang leaders who also consider Henry as illegitimate could pose serious problems to armed interlopers if their intention is perceived as propping up the Henry regime. There is also the historical context to consider. We should not forget that this year marks the 200th anniversary of the Monroe Doctrine, a declaration that matches the Papal Bull of 1493 for its imperial arrogance in claiming hegemony over an entire hemisphere. A century ago to date, Haiti was under the yoke of American occupation and recolonization, justified by the Monroe Doctrine. Since then, the U.S. has treated Haiti as France treats its former African colonies, constantly seeking to install puppet presidents at the expense of development of the country. The episodes of intervention since 1991 are well known. Haitians will not yield to U.S. military intervention, regardless of how dire the situation. Since the United States still aggressively invokes its Monroe Doctrine, it goes without saying that Kenya could only deploy its forces in the Caribbean with the blessings and sanction of the United States. It is this American consent and substantial financing of the mission that makes Kenya look like a mere proxy of the United States' strategic interests. Kenya's political thinkers are not unaware of the possibility that the USA might be using Kenya to restore its own interest in Haiti. Nasongo O. Moliro of Kenya's Global Center for Policy and Strategy warned, "The existential threat to Kenya police and the international mission is not the Moravian gangs but the sincerity of its backers, the USA." He further stated, "The matter that needs unequivocal assurance is whether the USA has genuinely resolved to see Haiti return to a functional state by fully supporting Kenya and the mission." End of quote. He also warned, "The mission should not enter Haiti with a binary approach of an enemy to vanquish and a government to prop up." End of quote. But prop up is exactly the message conveyed by President William Ruto, who recommended that the Kenyan police should, quote, "solely provide an appropriate environment for the leadership to usher in stability, development, and democratic governance through a political framework owned and driven by the Haitian people," unquote. Such thinking may have diplomatic value, but falls short of the reality that many Haitians consider Prime Minister Henry as anti-democratic and an American puppet. Opposition politicians condemn the mission. Kenya's main opposition leader, Raila Odinga, said the situation in Haiti is too dangerous for Kenyan police to manage. He warned, "When coffins start arriving here, that's when we shall regret it." Last week, Monday, the UN Security Council voted to endorse the Kenyan mission for 1 year. The resolution was drafted by the United States, co-sponsored by Ecuador. Not surprisingly, China and Russia abstained. President Ruto welcomed the UN security vote, but did not affirm the deployment of his police. It is now apparent that the government had not educated the public on the mission or engaged the political opposition or even the parliament. Foreign Affairs Minister Alfred Mutua took the fall for the multiple failures. 2 days ago, Ruto removed Mutua from his portfolio and reassigned him to a lesser post. Meanwhile, political opponent and constitutional lawyer Ekuru Okot sued the government, claiming that the deployment of police did not have the consent of the National Assembly and was therefore unconstitutional. 2 days ago, last Monday, a High Court judge ruled, and I quote, "I am satisfied that the application and petition raise substantial issues of national importance and public interest that require urgent attention. A conservatory order is hereby issued, restraining the respondents from deploying police officers to Haiti or any other country until the 24th of October 2023. End of quote. This means that the Africa Report will revisit this issue to bring you an update when the court rules finally later this month. Yes, that's the Africa Report. And of course, for the credits there, we should be adding Ruskin Mark. I had anticipated Natasha would be in studio this evening. So our Indaba team for this program includes Ruskin Mark. Yes, so the Emancipation Support Committee would have put out a media release entitled No to International Military Intervention in Haiti. It covered much of what we have covered in this Africa Report. And of course, we are going to hear much more from our guest this evening. We have on the right of your screen, or is it left? When you're looking at a screen, it's kind of mirror-like, reality we're talking about. But we have at the bottom of the screen Myrtha Desulme, who is president of the Haiti Jamaica Society and a member of the Montano Group. Welcome, my sister, to this evening's program. We have also Brother Jaffrey Kaiti, who is a Haitian author, an analyst, and activist. Myrtha is in Jamaica at the moment, and Jaffrey is in Canada. So they're speaking to us from two different locations this evening. Welcome once more, my brother Kwame, and I would invite you at this time to address our audience and our guest as well. And then you can begin with areas of concern that we are particularly interested in. So proceed.
Thank you so much, Baba Fergus, Dr. Fergus, for another sterling Africa report. You've managed within 8 minutes to really give a really brilliant summary of all of those moving parts, and it's, to be sure, a very complex geopolitical issue. The nature of tonight's talk, for the sake of the audience, is extremely sensitive. We have an ongoing crime scene. There is, of course, several humanitarian crises, plural, happening on the ground. Within Indaba, the voice of the people, the voice of the Emancipation Support Committee, we wanted to ensure that as we dealt with such a sensitive geopolitical issue, that we invited persons who are themselves Haitians and who are themselves operating, as it were, as part of the solution, offering their services, offering their solution to bring about a resolution again to the crisis as it's happening in real time. Having said that, I want to say a special good night to our YouTube audience on tonight. I'm seeing several of our familiar faces. Deborah E. Walters. I see Olabisi out of New York. I'm even seeing Samuel Mator out of Liberia. And I know it's a sacrifice for Liberia, for Ghana, For Uganda, Malawi, I see you are tuned in. You are 4 and 5 and 6 hours ahead of us. So to be here on tonight speaks to your concern for Haiti, speaks to your concern for the topic. You are interested in what has to be said on tonight. I want to turn, of course, my attention to our female guests. You say ladies before gents, and I want to operate in that regard as a gentleman. But as we are talking about ladies, I want to put a plug to tonight, today is the Earth Strong of my queen, Nefertari Kandake Kamau herself. So I want to recognize that live on a live in Indaba. I'm paying that little social bill, if you please. But having paid that social bill, expressing my love and solidarity for this queen without whom I will not be, I want to turn to the queen on the platform tonight. And the queen on the platform tonight in Myrtha Desulme, again, broadcasting live from Jamaica, front and center in the development process, in the negotiation process, as part of the Montana Group. A very pleasant good night to you, Madam Ambassador. Please tell us, what is the genesis of the Montana Group? Because I am informed, based on all of my research on the ground and elsewhere, that you have quite a lot to share in terms of solutions for the current situation, the current impasse, the current humanitarian crisis. So tell us a little bit more about the Montana Group and yourself, and how this Montana Group came to be, so we can set the context for the statements which will then come forward in terms of the solutions that you'll be proffering on tonight. Again, pleasant good night and welcome to Indaba.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Kamau, and thank you for the invitation, as well as to Brother Fergus. And thank you so much for pronouncing my name correctly. There's so many people who don't say Myrtha. It's Myrtha. Right?
Guilty here.
No problem. But I have to point it out, and thank you for that. Okay, so as you know, the U.S. occupied Haiti in 1915, from 1915 to 1934, for 19 brutal years. And they installed a very vicious army, because even after they left, after the 19 years, they left a structure that would permit them to still control Haiti at a distance. And so, because like as you know, the Haitian Revolution was a glorious revolution. So the first army was a heroic army, the liberators, the protectors of the people. So most of the first heads of states were generals, right? But then when the US replaced that army with a repressive army that was trained in the School of the Americas, and they created a state against the nation, where they left a structure, a government structure and an army that was there to to carry out the foreign agenda against the interests of the Haitian people, right? Politics in Haiti became a very vicious thing, where it was like, and then they destroyed the entire, productive sector, agriculture, everything, so that they created this dog-eat-dog context where politics became like the only channel for people to make money and get rich, right? So all decent people, civil society, the intellectuals, the people with integrity, honest people who wanted to cease. I mean, the people who were going into politics a lot of times were people who just wanted to get rich, right? And I'm not saying, that doesn't start not right from the beginning. But what happened is that during those 19 years, the governments that were ruling Haiti were governments that were they were puppet governments all throughout, starting from 1915, all puppet governments. But then there was a big nationalist movement in the 1930s, and that is what brought about the second liberation then, when the Americans left in 1934. But at the same, Haiti was starting to have some decent, we had some decent governments, like Estime, and, for example, he's very well known as someone, Jumal Estime, who tried to do something for the country. But even after Estime, you had Magloire, who was again another US puppet, and then you had the catastrophe of the 29 years of the Duvalier dictatorship, where Duvalier, it was the father spent 15 years, and then he died, and appointed his 19-year-old son, even though the Constitution said at the time that you could not be president under the age of 40, and he changed the Constitution and put his son, who was a total playboy, no business going anywhere near politics, who had no, people who even thought that he was a bit retarded, right? But he became the figurehead to maintain that vicious, dictatorial structure that was buttressed not only by the army, but it created the Totomakuts that you probably heard of, that were, committing atrocities and repressing the people, and jailing people and for no reason, and so people had to flee. Most of the Haitian intellectuals and civil society had to flee all over the world, and so politics became so vicious that decent people didn't go near politics, right? And then after the Duvalier dictatorship, because the Duvalier dynasty would not have spent a day in power if it wasn't for the US that permitted them to spend 29 years, where they became notorious internationally for being one of the most vicious dictatorships ever known, right? And so after those 29 years of repression, there was a huge, a vast popular movement that rebelled against the dictatorship, and finally the US had to accept, for Davy Duck to leave the country. He went into a golden exile in France, taking his millions of dollars, right? And left the country in total calamity. But at least they were free of these, vampires, right? So Aristide emerged. He was the one that got away. Out of the whole history of Haiti, he was the one leader that was genuinely, popularly elected from a groundswell of popularity, right? From the people of Haiti. And he got away, but after 7 months, they came back for him, right? They toppled him after 7 months, and they had the army organize a coup, and basically that was the role of the army, to organize coup to topple governments. That when that private sector or the US wanted the government out, and so they got rid of Aristide, and he went into exile for 3 years, but then unfortunately, after the 3 years, he came back to power in 1994. But then the Aristide who came back was not the Aristide who left, right? Because the first Aristide was a real revolutionary. Who really wanted to change the system and change that whole kind of apartheid system that existed in Haiti, where you had a majority of people that were living on next to nothing, and then a small elite that was exploiting the mass of the people. When he came back with 20,000 US Marines brought back by Bill Clinton, by that time they had brainwashed him, or not brainwashed him, but he had accepted them to basically give in, to the foreign agenda, and accepted, for the Clintons to destroy the agricultural sector. Haiti used to produce rice. Haiti used to export rice. They brought the import duties to like 3% or to 0, when Haiti is part of CARICOM, and CARICOM has like 25% import duty. They made Aristide eliminate the import duty that completely devastated the agricultural sector, everything. And so after Aristide, now you had René Préval, that was basically, okay, because of the 29 years of Duvalier dictatorship, because Duvalier was actually elected, and then once he became president, he decided that he's going to be president for life. So that's how he got to spend the 29 years. So in order to prevent that repeating itself, the new constitution of 1987 said that a president could not have two consecutive terms. He had to have somebody come in between and then come back after that 5-year term when someone else became president. So because Haiti had adopted a bicephalous, two-headed government system where you have a president and a prime minister, so what they would do is elect a prime minister, or not elect, choose a prime minister that would be their, one of their acolytes, and then try to put that person in power to hold the seat warm for them to come back, right? So that became the pattern. And then after that, now, after Préval, the US put in another viciously corrupt Michel Martelly. And Michel Martelly came in because you had the 2010 earthquake, which was like one of the greatest disasters in the history of mankind, where like 300,000 people, died in 45 seconds. And so they used that to bring in an occupational force. The UN forces came in, supposedly to stabilize the situation. They brought cholera to Haiti, which killed tens of thousands of people and infected hundreds of thousands. And so in the midst of the aftermath of this devastating earthquake, hundreds of thousands of people living on the streets and cholera and everything, they forced through an election. And even though they forced through an election, Michel Martelly did not win, but they imposed Michel Martelly on the Haitian people because he was totally corrupt. And when they choose those corrupt people who are going to do the bidding of the US, UN, whoever it is, and carry out the foreign agenda. And Michel Martelly was a drug addict, a drug dealer. They had drug dossiers on him. So they like to have people that have criminal dossiers because that's how they hold them. Because, they get immunity by remaining in power, and they're beholden to the foreign powers and have no accountability to the Haitian people. So Michel Martelly, so what he came in calling himself a legal bandit. That was his name for himself and his group. They called themselves the legal bandits, and they were really legal bandits. And they started the destruction of the Haitian institutions, the judiciary, the parliament. They refused to have elections because what they wanted to do was to destroy all the institutions so they could rule by decree. And so Michel Martelly had he was a singer. He was an artist, right? Who used to pull his pants down on stage, and a very vulgar artist. He had 5 carnivals in the 5 years he was there. He never had any election because he wanted to stay in power until the people rose up and forced him to leave. So what he did, again, in the same pattern of choosing someone to hold the seat warm so he could come back, because that person would now prepare the stage for the previous one to come back. He chose Jovenel Moïse. And Jovenel Moïse continued that pattern of destroying institutions, not having elections, until you ended up with, a third of the parliament, the judiciary. There were no judges. I mean, all of the institutions were just going down and down and down because they wanted to be able to rule by decree. So at that point, Haitian civil society rose up and said, okay, and this is how Montana was born, to answer your question, okay? So I was getting somewhere. They said, we cannot leave the country. It's been 100 years that the country has been going to the dogs, to hell in a handbasket, because we're leaving it in the hands of corrupt politicians. Civil society has to take back the country. We cannot keep fleeing and going to build up other people's countries while Haiti is going down the drain. We have to just take our responsibility and take our country back. So they spent 6 months going around the country consulting with all kind of civil society groups, unions, and private sector, and political parties, and just going around and getting a popular consensus on what kind of country Haitians really want to build, and how we're going to put Haiti back on the track of democracy, and put decent, honest people with integrity in power, and break Haiti from the yoke of imperialism that had been trampling on Haitian sovereignty for 100 years, preventing Haitians from electing their own government. And that was the objective and the aim of Montana. So Montana now came out with a roadmap, a document called the Montana Accord, and it set a 2-year transition from the corrupt, vicious system that existed, and the idea was to uproot that system, break from the tutelage under which Haiti had been forcibly placed, and regain Haiti's sovereignty, and have a 2-year transition whereby we could now go to credible, transparent, democratic elections where the Haitian people would be able to elect their own government and have a government working in the interest of the Haitian people, as opposed to continuing that state against nation pattern of governments that are there to do the foreign bidding, working against the interest of the Haitian.
I think we should come back to Myrtha, and let's hear Brother Afrik at this point.
You read my thoughts. You absolutely read my thoughts with respect to same. Yes.
Yes. So
I concur, indubitably. So my question for and I want to get the enunciation right, just as I did with your colleague. It's Jafrik Haiti. Yes. Beautiful. I think I'm getting the nod. So here you are, an author, an activist. You reside out of Canada. Of course, you are Haitian born yourself. You come from that amazing pedigree. I'm looking at the lovely portrait of the boss of all bosses, the general of all generals, who defeated all of the best that Europe had to send to the Caribbean. And so coming from Haitian pedigree is certainly quite something to celebrate. Speak to me. You use the pen. You are not a general in the sense of guns and muskets and machetes. Your weapon of warfare is that of the mighty pen. Tell me, how do you use your pen in the resistance, so to speak, to ensure that Haiti's voice, that the genuine voice of the masses, the people on the ground, the Montana group and others who have, as it were, the interests of this amazing nation that was the first Black African nation to gain its independence. How do you come into this struggle utilizing the tools and the weapons at your disposal to bring about development and assistance?
Yeah, thank you, Brother Kamau and Brother Fergus, for this kind invitation, and greetings, Sister Desulme, for alerting me to this opportunity to share with our brothers and sisters. I do realize that I am a privileged son of Africa. Because as we are having this discussion here, thousands of our brothers are perishing in the Mediterranean, perishing in the Atlantic Ocean, just like our ancestors died 200 years ago. And so when I write about the struggle of our people, of course, I anchor it on the experience of our family in Haiti. But what we need to always remember is that what we share in common is not just skin color, as I hear people say it all the time. We are family. It's DNA. As I do my genealogy, I find family members who are now in Jamaica. Jamaica is our neighbor. We have family members in Trinidad and Tobago, all over, because the enemy that we were facing was selling us from one stop to another. And so the Haitian Revolution is the revolution of the Africans of Trinidad, of Latin America. Many of our ancestors were in Brazil before they came to the Caribbean. Therefore, my effort in writing about our ongoing struggle is to try to summon the forces of our people all over the planet. This is not about Haiti alone. As I write to CARICOM leaders, I remind them that in 1983, our brothers in Grenada were also trying to build for themselves a new reality with President Maurice Bishop. And the United States invaded and murdered Maurice Bishop, just like they've done with countless other leaders. Sister Myrtha Desulme gave us a brilliant summary of recent Haitian history. And, one thing that I need to point out is that it's not one president of Haiti that tried to resist the white supremacists, it's a host of them. If you look at Haitian history from the start, with Dessalines, who was trying to liberate the whole island of slavers, and when he was at the door of Santo Domingo, the white supremacist forces collaborated. It was a U.S. Ship that went and sent false information to Dessalines through the British, telling him that there is a French armada attacking Port-au-Prince, so that he lifted the siege of Santo Domingo. That's how you ended up losing two-thirds of the island to white supremacist forces, and then they created the Dominican Republic so that they can maintain white supremacy on the island. And they continued throughout Haiti's history. And so when we speak about the liberation of Haiti, we are talking about the liberation of Jamaica. We are talking about the liberation of Barbados. And that's why we're telling our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, it is not their job, okay, to do the bidding of white supremacists, putting a black face to imperialism. Because if they betray Haiti in 2023, who is going to come to their rescue when they attack Barbados, when they attack Jamaica, as they will? And so today, as we talk about the situation from a position of privilege, because I always consider myself just like our ancestors who were allowed in the big house of Massa. Okay, some of us were playing violin, some of us were cooking in the big house, while our mothers or brothers or fathers were in the field being killed, being murdered. And sometimes they even gave the whip to us to beat our own spouse, to beat our own mother, to beat our own children. And so, what's happening today, as you see the Prime Minister of Canada summoning the folks from the CARICOM to come to Ottawa next week, or traveling to Kenya to get Ruto to be their boy attacking Haiti, it's nothing new. The imperialists have never been folks of great imagination. What they do is recycle the same strategy over and over. They're just giving the whip to a black person so that the white supremacist attack on Haiti gets perceived as black on black crime. What's going to happen in the next few months as Kenyans are fighting their Haitian brothers and sisters, all of a sudden, the white supremacists will just step back and let the black on black crime proceed. We are not going to let that happen. Okay, it happened during the so-called Second World War. As you know, there were Africans in the front liberating the cities of Europe, whether it is Paris or cities in Italy. les tirailleurs sénégalais. What did they get, in récompense? Okay, some of them did not even get their pension. When they were doing the celebration of the liberation of Paris, the Pope wrote to the French leaders and told them to change the configuration of the French legions so that there were no blacks in the legions. Whereas the Africans liberated the city, it was all white French. So that's what we need to realize. We cannot carry the water for white supremacist forces anymore. We need to launch our own battles and make sure that what's happening on the African continent in countries like Burkina Faso, in Mali, we emulate that so that the gold, the coltan, the uranium, the iridium of our countries benefit us. I'll just end with reference to 1994. President Aristide was deposed twice. The first time by Papa Bush, who was the former director of the CIA who became president. The second time by Baby Bush. When President Aristide returned in 1994, he did not change, okay? In 3 years, a person does not change. What happened is that Bill Clinton agreed to return President Aristide because you had brothers like Randall Robinson, who was doing a hunger strike in the United States, and saying that they need to undo the coup because the coup was conducted by the CIA. Yes, they used the Haitian Forces Armées d'Haïti, and as Myrtha mentioned, that so-called Haitian army was never a Haitian army. It was created by the United States to defend the interests of the United States and the white Haitians. We will get a chance to talk about the white warlords. They are the ones who are also arming the gangs, the so-called gangs that are paramilitaries in Haiti. And so when that invasion happened in 94, the official word was that the United States was on the side of democracy and helping President Aristide back. There are American soldiers like Stan Goff who were part of that invasion who wrote about it, and they tell you the reality was that the US Army were being told that Aristide is with us, but that's only for show. Okay? They're going to Haiti to protect the criminals, the FRAP, the guys that they used to conduct the coup. And that's why you will see President Aristide, when he returned, as a kidnapped victim being returned by his captors. And it wasn't just President Aristide who accepted the raw deal. Because as part of the deal, the Haitian people had to pretend to be stupid. That is, to accept that the 3 years that President Aristide spent in exile was part of his mandate. And we all knew that the Haitian constitution does not allow someone to serve 2 consecutive terms. So essentially, the Republicans who conducted the coup agreed with the Democrats to pretend that they're returning Aristide so that they can stop the flow of Haitian refugees that were ending in Florida. Meanwhile, they know that Aristide had no choice as soon as he returned but to organize elections because he cannot succeed himself. Okay, so they stole the mandate of the people. Okay, and so it was a deal in order to stop the murdering of the population. And when the US soldiers went in there, the first thing they did is they went to steal the records of the army, which proved that it's the CIA that conducted the coup. And President Aristide did what he could. He renewed diplomatic relations with Cuba, which enraged the Americans, because during the whole time of the Duvaliers, there was no relationship between Haiti and Cuba. And so Cuban doctors came back to Haiti. And the other thing that President Aristide did was that he disbanded the army, which was the tool that the white supremacists always used to murder the population. And so when President Aristide returned to power in 2000, the same year that Bush was elected in Florida, facilitated by his brother Jeb Bush. Okay, so they stole the election, but because of the power that white supremacy exert in the world today, Bush was accepted as a legitimate president, but President Aristide, who was elected by the vast majority of Haitians, was said to be a contested president. Okay, and the white supremacist forces together conspired to overthrow him in 2004. So what the mayhem you see today is the result of what is called the Ottawa Initiative on Haiti. It's called like that because that's where white people, men and women, met in the city where I live, January 31st, February 1st, 2003, and they conspired to overthrow the government of Haiti and to put Haiti under UN tutelage. And so they used the United Nations to invade Haiti in 2004 and conduct that coup. And what you see today, okay, is the result of that coup.
That was beautiful. It's a golden night for Indaba program this evening. Kwame, you need to unmute. Yes, okay. So it's a golden evening, I think. Two beautiful historical and political perspectives. But I would like to turn our attention to the United Nations mission, the Security Council, because a lot of people are waiting to hear something about that. One of the questions I would like to ask is whether either or both of you...
Before you move on, I would just like to make a correction. I never said that Aristide was the only president who resisted, the foreign force influence or white supremacy. I mean, I could never say that Dessalines and all these people who fought off the entire world did not resist white supremacy. I was only saying that from when the US invaded Haiti in 1915 and they set up that state against nation structure, which permitted them to continue controlling Haiti at a distance even after they left after 19 years, and they were still controlling and who got into power in Haiti. I'm saying that Aristide was the only president that was universally, he was elected by universal suffrage. That was the first universal suffrage election and was on a groundswell of popularity, got into power. I wasn't saying he was the only one who...
Sure. And we are thankful. We are thankful for that distinction and that correction. We definitely wanted to correct the record. Dr. Fergus, you are asking that question as we are focusing on the UN resolution.
Right. And also on Kenya, what I would like either or both of our guests to address is whether you are going to attempt to approach the Kenyan government directly, because there is a little window of about 2 weeks before the court has to make a final decision. Once that decision is made, it might be difficult to undo the decision. The time to intervene may be now to try to convince the court and the government of Kenya that they ought not to proceed with the mission. So the question is, do you have any intention or do you see any benefits in approaching the Kenyan government directly in order to articulate your own concerns with respect to this mission? Because a lot of Kenya, but particularly the political opposition in Kenya, they are against the mission. So you need to introduce an element that is beyond the politics, the local politics in Kenya itself. And that's one of the benefits, perhaps, of an external intervention, such as, the activists, particularly within CARICOM and the Haitian diaspora and the Haitians themselves. So that is one of the things. And the other question I would like us to address, if there is time, is what are the alternatives to the UN mission as currently articulated? How do we address the issue in Haiti besides simply expressing concerns? We are talking solutions as well. Do you have any to proffer to us so that we can begin to see a way out of this morass that we are all in, because we are part of this one, as Afrique would have said, this one brotherhood and sisterhood, the African diaspora in the Caribbean and in Canada, in the United States and elsewhere. We are all one, as Marcus Garvey would have emphasized, as we all know. Okay, so go ahead. Either of you can address that question. Well, the two questions.
Well, I'll start by saying that as soon as we heard that Kenya was being, roped in, drafted to be used as a front, for this military intervention, several civil society groups in Haiti and activists, dozens of activists, had written a letter, which I also signed, to the African Union, protesting and asking them to basically rein in Kenya. But when we got the good news that the Kenyan High Court itself was blocking it, then we now, I'm part of certain Pan-Africanist networks, and through them, we met some Kenyan politicians who are also part of the network. And so we sent the letter to them for them to take it to the Kenyan parliament to express, how disconcerted we are that they would accept to be used as fronts in order to crush, an African nation after Haiti, contributed so much to the liberation of the African continent. And so we are thinking of even going there, because we're supposed to have some meetings with them over Zoom, and then we are thinking of going to Kenya to meet with the African parliamentarians and opposition to express to them our opposition to that movement. The second question about, what was the second question again?
Well, about solutions. What if not the current mission, then what proposals do you have in mind in confronting the situation?
Haiti doesn't have a security problem. The gangs are paramilitary foot soldiers that of the de facto puppet government, who is the tool, who is doing the bidding of the US, the UN, the core group, and to arm the gangs in order to repress the Haitian people so that they don't rise up as would be justifiable against the untenable living conditions, and so that they can organize another fraudulent election to put another puppet in power. And then they say that there is a democratically elected government in Haiti who will be another corrupt puppet carrying out the foreign agenda. So after the centuries of destroying Haitian agriculture, production, everything, you have a country that has 70% unemployment, millions of unattached youth, and they flood the country with guns. Even the US and the UN have put out reports about where the guns are coming from. Everybody knows that they're coming from the US, from the Dominican Republic, and they flood the country with guns, and they arm these youth. And everyone knows that Ariel Henry, the government, is the one who is maintaining the gangs. And so Haiti doesn't have a security problem. We don't need a foreign force to come and fight this. What we need to do is uproot the corrupt system that is maintaining the gangs alive, that is giving them the guns. These are people who couldn't buy a loaf of bread last week, and now they have weapons that are more sophisticated than the US Army, and they never traveled. And they themselves on video saying that where they're getting the guns, from the Haitian oligarchy and from the government. And those people are just there as tools of the US, the UN, the international community, the core group, the hegemonic powers, to keep the gangs as a terrorist organization that is perpetrating a genocide, a literal genocide on the Haitian people, to crush them so that the military intervention will come in like as Christ the Redeemer, because by that time the people are on their knees and they think that these foreigners are coming to liberate them. when in fact they're coming to perpetuate a vicious, corrupt system of tutelage. So
yeah, but the question is, how do you disarm, get to the point of disarming the gangs?
That is what Montana is working
and to restore some kind of sanity. This is the problem.
Once you get rid of the corrupt government, once you get rid, that's what we're fighting for in all these negotiations. How to get rid of the corrupt government and the corrupt system and the tutelage, so that Haiti can have, so that Haitian people can vote for their own candidate and put a government in power that is coming to work in the interest of the Haitian people instead of against it, right? So you have to get rid of the system, break from that tutelage, and that is what all the fight and all the negotiations are about. Trying to get rid of Ariel Henry and put down a transition of 2 years where you're going to have a large national consensus that is going to take the country to free, fair, transparent, and democratic elections, and not what they're trying to do, which is to secure the country for fraudulent elections and change the constitution. That's the plan. Ariel Henry is going to change the constitution, and by that time now, they hold you forever, because that means that in the constitution, they give you right to all the mines, to all the resources, to everything. And they're going to control you.
Before Jeffrey answers, we have to bid our radio listeners good night, and thanks for listening, and please join us again next week for another exciting program of Indaba. So with that in mind, let's hear what Jeffrey has to say on these two questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kenya and solution.
Yes.
Yeah.
So first, with regards to the Kenyan, I'll mention that about a year ago, it was Paul Kagame of Rwanda who was first targeted as the lead of this non-UN mission. I'll specify that it's a non-UN mission. It's a weird thing. I mean, they went to the United Nations, and because, of course, they got the abstention of Russia and China, now they're saying it's a non-union mission. But still, the UN is approving, a non-UN mission. The reason why they're doing
under Chapter 7.
Exactly. That is to allow these mercenaries to conduct crimes in full impunity. Okay? Because now the UN will say, well, it wasn't a UN mission. Okay? So that's very dangerous, and that's a precedent that the world should not accept. Okay? Because then anytime the United States wants to go and invade a country, they will evoke the Global Fragility Act, and then they will go and steal your resources using soldiers from all over the world, especially black soldiers. Okay, so when we saw this, it came out as an op-ed in the Globe and Mail in Canada. This man named Robert Rodberg, who wrote it and said that Canada should participate in that mission, and that Paul Kagame of Rwanda should lead it. And we wrote to President Paul Kagame and told him that, you already have a bad reputation with what's happening in the Congo. Going to attack Haiti for white supremacy is not going to make it look any better for you. And then months later, we saw that the former U.S. ambassador to Haiti, Pamela White, started to flood the media, saying that they need boots in Haiti right away. But something very important to note, she said that the private sector in Haiti should stop playing around with gangs, and they should put money on the table to hire mercenaries. She doesn't care where they're coming from. They could be former New York police officers, but they need to invade Haiti and fight the gangs. Of course, she's saying to fight the gangs, but what she's really saying is to have a set of mercenaries to help the private sector, which is the white warlords of Haiti. I don't know who is the richest person in Jamaica or in Trinidad and Tobago, but imagine, I cannot even imagine that the richest person in Canada okay, who would be a billionaire, would be on a list of people accused of funding gangs. And for that person to be known by everybody and walking around in doing their business. And that's why I'll jump to what we're talking about as the solutions. There is no need to invade Haiti. Okay, that richest person in Haiti apparently is also the richest in the Caribbean. Gilbert Bidjo. He's on the list of the folks that Canada has said they have enough information to know that this man is funding the gangs. Well, where is Gilbert Bidjo? In Florida. And he was also sanctioned back after the coup in 1991. He was on a list. The Americans said that they were taking sanctions against him, but that was all a show. He actually became richer after so called sanctions from the United States. So, what we're saying is the regular mechanisms, such as the United Nations and stuff, unfortunately, yes, we should continue to have people meet with them and write letters, etc. But these tools are not in our hands. Okay? When we wanted to liberate South Africa from the Boers, okay, it wasn't the United Nations that took resolutions to stop it. Okay, the South Africans had to fight the white supremacist forces. Cuba helped, Libya helped, and that's why when he was released, Nelson Mandela went and thanked those brothers and sisters for their support. Okay, unfortunately, right now we are living in a world led by bandits, global bandits. Okay, and I do not hesitate to say that's what's happening. And that's why you can see murders happening in Palestine, and they will put a straight face and tell you that what you're seeing is not what you're seeing. Everybody has to align with the criminals and disregard the fact that thousands of Palestinians have been killed for the past decades, and we are supposed to pretend being stupid and not understand who the real aggressor was. Okay, so to go back to the situation with Haiti, right now, what needs to happen is that Africans around the world need to awake to the reality that we are being murdered right, left, and center. It's not just in Haiti. Those gangs are not gangs, okay? They are financed by the United States because the demographic situation in Haiti has not changed much. Okay, there's a small population of white criminals on the island, on both sides of the island. The side that they're calling Dominican Republic, the side that they're calling Republic of Haiti, it's the same reality. The richest person in Haiti is white. The second richest is white. The third richest is white. The fourth, it's not a coincidence. It's because white supremacy has managed to kidnap the country from the Haitians, just like it has happened in other countries in the Caribbean that won't admit it. It's the economy that leads everything. If the people who control how much oil you get in your country are not the natives, that means the country is not yours. Okay, so that's what they created. They created a situation where African people in the Caribbean have to pretend that they are independent when in reality we are not making decisions about what's happening in our countries. And Haiti is the weakest link in the sense that we have lost the ability to name our own leaders. Okay, and so now they're trying to mobilize even our regional organization, CARICOM, against our own people. And so what we're saying is that the solution is not going to be in those formal organizations. We need to mount a popular revolt. And that's why in Solidarité Québec Haïti, we call on all Black soldiers, regardless of their national army, to refuse to invade Haiti, Mali, Burkina Faso, okay? All of these countries that are resisting white supremacy today. As you know, they're doing the same thing on the African continent. They're using ECOWAS to invade Mali, Niger, because they want to steal the uranium of Niger. They want to steal the gold of the Congo. They want to steal whatever we have in Haiti. And they're going to come for you in the Caribbean. I know brothers and sisters in the Bahamas who sometimes get confused about who they are. And they're worried that, okay, there are going to be Haitian refugees coming to the Bahamas. What are you talking about, Haitian refugees? We are one people. Most of your population is Haitian. Okay? So now you're going to have soldiers or police officers coming from the Bahamas to invade Haiti? How stupid can that be? You can't do that. We are family. The US wants to steal the petroleum or whatever we have in Haiti. Let them send their own soldiers. Don't send people from the Bahamas. The Bahamas should focus on trying to become independent. Okay, right now you're paying taxes to the Queen of England or the King of England, whatever they have now. We should liberate our territories for our people, not go and fight other people battle using our own sons and daughters. Okay, if it was the sons of Joe Biden going to war, they would think twice about invading Haiti. But if they can use your own children to invade Haiti, to invade Mali, to invade Burkina Faso, why not? They'll keep on doing it. We can say no. And as you see, the system in Kenya has enough people of character that they are putting a stop to Ruto's betrayal. But this is only temporary. We cannot rest on our laurels. And I agree with Sister Myrtha Desulme by going out there and meeting our brothers and sisters in Kenya and talking to them and explaining to them that this invasion is not about fighting gangs. They did the same thing in 1994. Like I said, Brother Stan Goff, who is a US soldier, wrote about his experience. He said, they were telling us that we're going there to support democracy in Haiti. And as soon as they landed, what the secret instructions that they were receiving was that actually the so-called gangs, the FRAP, the paramilitaries, are the US allies. And Aristide is the bad guy. Okay, so they were only walking around with Aristide because the face value, okay, they wanted the Americans to be known as the people who bring back democracy. But in reality, they were undermining democracy. And if you go on YouTube, you will see a video of President Aristide angry, telling the United Nations, how come you said you're going to disarm the gangs, and what you're doing is actually dropping weapons in the poor neighborhoods? They do that all the time. They do it in their own country. They do it in New York. Okay, they flood our communities with weapons, with drugs, and then they step back and they wait for the black on black, genocide or fratricide to happen. We need to put a stop to it, and there is no need for us to betray Haiti. I know David Ruther sung Haiti, I'm sorry. You cannot keep on singing Haiti, I'm sorry every decade. Okay, this betrayal is not unavoidable. We have the example of Brother Ralph Gonsalves, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadine. We understand the economies are very fragile in the Caribbean. Okay, and they will have retaliation. You know, when Prime Minister PJ Patterson accepted to welcome President Aristide after they had kidnapped him and took him in the Central African Republic. And according to some journalists, they were trying to kill him while he was in the Central African Republic because they had Bosise, who was one of their puppets there at the time. And he was rescued by the efforts of Brother Rendell Robinson, Maxine Waters, Danny Glover, who went to Central African Republic and returned him to Jamaica. But you remember what happened, right? Colin Powell, their boy, who was in Washington, called PJ Patterson, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, to threaten him and say, do not let Aristide back into the hemisphere. And credit to PJ Patterson, he did not get scared, and he welcomed Aristide, and Aristide and his two daughters and his wife reunited with their family, and Brother Thabo Mbeki welcomed them in South Africa. So what I'm saying is that we have examples when African men and women of character resisted white supremacy. Okay, and that's what we need to emulate. When the United States wanted to steal Mole Saint Nicolas a century back, they named Frederick Douglass ambassador to Haiti. And his mission was to help the Americans steal Mole Saint Nicolas. When Frederick Douglass arrived in Haiti and he was facing Firmin, what's the name of our brother again?
Antenor Firmin.
Antenor Firmin, who was minister at the time, who explained to Frederick Douglass what was happening, the importance of Mole Saint Nicolas for Haiti, and the refusal of Haiti to give up Mole Saint Nicolas. You know what happened? Frederick Douglass resigned his post. And when they accused him of being too friendly to the Haitians, Frederick Douglass said, I stand guilty of being a decent human being and I will not betray Haiti, because what the United States was wanting to do in Haiti was criminal. You see, what I am saying is today, people are celebrating Kamala Harris being the first black vice president. That means nothing. Okay? We've been in the big house several times. We've been Governor General of Canada. This means nothing. We need to stand for our people who are the less privileged, who are the most exposed. And that's what our ancestors are commending us today. And so William Ruto, if he betrays Haiti, the ancestors are going to punish him, and those of us who are alive are going to tell them that they are traitors. Sister Mia Motley, who I admire, her speeches at the United Nations are brilliant, but the price for our sister to become the Secretary General of the United Nations is not the betrayal of Haiti. Okay? No. Sister Motley needs to stand strong and resist the white supremacist forces, and we will stand with her around the world. The price of becoming Secretary General of the United Nations is not to betray Haiti. We already had Secretary Generals of the United Nations who were black. Kofi, please, Hanan did not help our cause. So our goal in the world is not to become the first black this, the first black that. It's to liberate our people so we can live prosperous lives in our islands, in Jamaica, in Haiti, in Barbados, in the Bahamas. That's what we are looking for.
Okay, Brother Kwame, you can summarize and take us out for the evening.
Sure, no problem. First of all, I would like to thank our fantastic audience for tuning in. I would like to identify a few comments because we are already in overtime, so why not recognize a few powerful comments. One of them is coming from Bongo Wisely, and he's asking the question, in what ways can civil society groups get themselves together in light of all of the crime and violence that is taking place within the country, knowing that the gangs are being funded by, of course, corrupt politicians, as well as the colonialists in Europe? I guess that the question being asked there is, there's a Montana group. It is a civil society ensemble, so to speak, and it is proffering solutions. There's a 2-year plan, a 2-year agenda on the table to act as a transitional government that will take the people into free and fair elections where there can be a true popular leadership that is installed to do the business of the people. But the question coming here is, can that be done within the remit of all of the violence that within the backdrop, within the setting of all the violence that is taking place? Even if one were to remove the current prime minister, quite unpopular among several circles within the Caribbean and even outside of the Caribbean, would the transitional group not have to face the same problems, the same challenges? Is the belief that the colonialists and the gang funders and supporters, are they going to disappear overnight? How do you address that? Even if today the Montano, as it were, accord were to be given, they ask in terms of being able to put together transitional government, how would crime and violence be addressed in a practical way? That's the question being asked. And the follow-up to that is just some support by one of our listening ambassadors, Ambassador Kalfani. And of course, he's showing solidarity for the discourse on tonight. Again, asking the question, where are all the guns, etc., coming from? A Bahamas listener on tonight in Prophet Jamiki has made the point on tonight that there is indeed a need for solidarity. He agrees with you, of course, Your Excellency Jafrika Haiti, that Bahamas is just another boat stop. So we have to come together in order to solve, of course, the problems that we face. So again, questions and comments coming from a very lively and very spirited comment section on tonight, our YouTube broadcast. Please share this video post-production, that we would be able to get this as far and wide as we can. We've heard stimulating rehearsals of Haiti's history. We've learned about the development of the Montano group. We've learned about as well their aspirations. We've learned about outreaches not only to Kenya but to other African nations. We've learned about the genesis of the problem on the ground. Per our guests tonight, Haiti does not have a security problem. It's really a problem of removing the corrupt system that has been plaguing Haiti for so long. But again, that question looms, and perhaps it might be the final question to take us out tonight. With regards to the violence, how would the Montana Accord, the Montana group, deal with that in a real and practical way? The question still looms. Do you believe that it would disappear once there's this populist transitional government coming to the fore, or would there be some need for force, whether it is internal, is as in within Haiti, or external? You're saying no to the external, obviously, but would there be a need in your imagination for there to be a need for the use of force to finally bring down the resistance, so to speak, in terms of the militias, the armed militias in Haiti? With those few words, again, we can answer that question very briefly. Bring your closing comments, and we'll say, of course, a good night for Indaba for tonight. So I'll start with you.
And one thing I would want to project to the listeners, and I would like to crave the indulgence of our guests, that we may be approaching you again in the next 2 weeks after the court decision in Kenya to come back and, update us on development. So the ESC Secretariat is going to be in touch with you. We may be asking you to come back to continue this conversation, because time will not allow us to engage some of these issues this evening. So Kwame, take us out.
Sure. And so with that, we are out of time, not out of faith, certainly not out of words here, not out of solidarity and love for Haiti. Two very passionate speakers on tonight in Her Excellency Myrtha Desulme, as well as Jafrik Haiti, coming to educate us on tonight in terms of some of the internal goings on within Haiti, certainly its history and the broader case of the geopolitics and the very necessary solutions that we have to bring to the table. We would definitely have to do a part 2, maybe even a part 3 with respect to this. And I'm happy to hear from Dr. Fergus that the producers are already signaling that. But we are absolutely out of time at this point. I would like to thank both of you for showing up. Thank you, Dr. Fergus, for another masterful edition of the Africa Report. And again, for those who've tuned in late, the recording would be available after post-production so that you can check out the entire thing from the beginning to the end. Please like, please share, please subscribe, and press the bell icon for ESCTT and CPAN so we can grow this Indaba army. Some would say Indaba Circle tonight, based on this revolutionary conversation, as Rastafari would say. It's the Indaba army. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This has been another edition of Indaba. Thanking you again for tuning in. Over and out for tonight.
Thank you.